Akimbo of Africa, Akimbo and the Snakes. A Brush with Danger. The two boys had been waiting patiently and now rushed out to greet Akimbo and his uncle as soon as they saw them come out of the trees. They both looked at the canvas sack, which Uncle Peter was carrying carefully before him. "Is it in there?" the elder of the two boys asked. "Is that the snake?" Uncle Peter nodded his reply. "We caught it in a tree," said Akimbo, "or rather, my uncle caught it in a tree." "We both did," said Uncle Peter. "It was Akimbo who saw it." They walked back to the village, the journey seeming to take far less time now that they had completed their task. And when they arrived, people crowded round looking fearfully at the bulging snake sack. "The boys were right," said Uncle Peter. "It was a green mamba." We don't want such snakes," one man said. "They are evil." Uncle Peter shook his head sadly. "No," he said, "you're wrong. No snake is evil. It has its job to do. If you had no snakes, then your crops would all be eaten by rats. Did you know that?" While Uncle Peter talked to the policeman, who was very proud of having arranged for the snake to be caught, Akimbo took down the tent and packed it neatly away in the back of the truck. What a good boy. Then they said goodbye, and Uncle Peter carefully placed the canvas bag in the back of the truck as well, resting it on the folded tent to protect the body of the snake from jolts and jars on the rough road back. Okay. Halfway back, they stopped at a small petrol station beside the road. So petrol is gas. It was a desolate spot surrounded by trees with a wide plain stretch in every direction. The petrol station was also a store selling food to travelers and to the people of nearby settlements. The truck was filled with petrol. And then Uncle Peter went to the attendant to collect his change. The truck was filled with petrol, and then Uncle Peter went with the attendant to collect his change and to buy a snack for the rest of the journey. I almost said snake. Buy a snack for the rest of the journey. Akimbo stayed in the truck. Whoa! And it was hot outside, and he was feeling tired. I just happened to look at this picture, so I think we all know what's fixing to happen. There was a noise, a soft, almost rustling noise. It's on his feet. Okay, it's in the picture. It's on his feet. All right. Rather as if a locust or bird had landed on top of the truck. Akimbo wondered what it was, but paid no further attention to it. Then, in a sudden, awful moment, he saw the snake's head and body sliding smoothly over the back of Uncle Peter's seat and into the cabin of the truck. Every detail of that moment was to be etched in Akimbo's mind. He saw the sharp, glowing green of the snake's skin, the myriad of interwoven scales. He saw the snake's neatly shaped head, its eyes within their protective membrane, the fine nostrils, and the small, tight mouth that concealed those terrible, deadly fangs. Akimbo stayed absolutely still, his body frozen with terror, every nerve shrieking a warning. He knew that if he moved now, the snake would strike, and he would die. The snake slid its long body over the seat and down into the well of the cabin. Akimbo turned his eyes slowly downwards. The snake seemed to be twining itself around the brake pedal and the clutch. Now it moved again, and Akimbo felt a soft brushing touch against his bare leg and foot. The snake was on his feet. The snake stopped. Perhaps it liked the warmth of his skin. Perhaps it had come to the limit of its exploring and was now content to wait. Yeah, waiting to attack. Akimbo made a supreme effort to stay still. His skin crawled with pin-like sensations of terror. His heart thumped within him like a hammer, but he willed himself to remain quite still, and he succeeded. He looked outside, turning his head as gently as he could. Uncle Peter was exchanging a few words with the attendant, cracking a Coke. "Come," wailed Akimbo. "Come now." Uncle Peter turned away and began to walk back to the truck. Akimbo now had to think quickly. It was vital that he should alert his uncle before he opened the truck door. A disturbance of that nature would prompt the snake to strike, either at Akimbo or at his uncle, and yet Akimbo would also disturb the snake if he shouted or moved quickly. Akimbo decided what he must do. Take a deep breath, and very slowly, like a figure in a slow-motion film, he began to move his arm. The snake remained still. Then, keeping the rest of his body quite immobile, Akimbo moved his arm out of the truck and waved to his uncle. Uncle Peter waved back. Akimbo, desperate now, shook his hand up and down and pointed. Uncle Peter appeared not to notice. Then he suddenly stopped. Akimbo responded by pointing again to the inside of the truck. Then he shook his arm again. Uncle Peter was puzzled. He hesitated for a moment, and then he began to approach Akimbo's side of the truck. As he came nearer, he saw from the way the boy was sitting that something was wrong. "The mamba," whispered Akimbo. Once Uncle Peter was close enough, "It's escaped. It's in here, on my feet." Uncle Peter seemed to reel from the shock. Then he moved slightly closer, treading carefully to avoid making any noise or vibration. "Stay absolutely still," he whispered. "Try not to move at all. I'm going to go around to fetch my pole from the back. Then I'm going to try to open my door very, very gently. But you mustn't do anything at all. Do you understand?" "Yes," whispered Akimbo. "Please hurry, Uncle." Uncle Peter disappeared around the back of the truck, and Akimbo thought that he heard the faintest of sounds from behind him. But the snake did not move, and now Uncle Peter appeared at his window. He peered in, trying to see where the snake was lying, but it was dark down there, and he could not make out its shape. Akimbo watched in an agony of suspense as Uncle Peter very slowly pushed down on the handle of the driver's door. A chink of light appeared between the frame of the door and the body of the truck, and grew larger as the door was opened, fraction by fraction. Every part of Akimbo's body now ached with the effort of keeping still. He would have been giving anything to flex his muscles to move, but he knew that the slightest movement on his part could set the snake into a fury. Opening the door seemed to take an eternity, but as the last chink of light appeared around the door, then flooded into the cabin of the truck. Surely the snake would move now, thought Akimbo. Its escape route was clear. It would have no reason to stay. For a few minutes the snake did nothing, and Akimbo's heart sank. What if it had come to stay? What if it liked where it was? He could not stay still indefinitely. Sooner or later his protesting muscles would have to flex. Then the snake moved. Akimbo heard a rustling movement, and then suddenly he felt the pressure come off his foot. From the corner of his eye he saw an unfolding of green coils, and then, with a sinuous gliding action, the snake eased across the floor of the cab out of the truck. Uncle Peter was standing to the side of the truck, and the snake did not see him as it slid down onto the ground. The next thing he knew was the cold grip of the jaws of the pole tighten about its throat. It was caught again. "You are very brave," said Uncle Peter as they prepared to leave. "You did just the right thing in keeping still. It's when people panic that snakes lash out. They don't like sudden movements." Akimbo accepted the praise. He had done his best, but he hoped that it would be a long time before he was called upon to be brave again, no doubt. "How did it escape?" asked Akimbo. "My fault, I'm afraid," said Uncle Peter. "I can't have tied up the bag tightly enough. I won't make that mistake again." Now, you would think that him being a professional like that he would have taken more care to tie that bag tighter. But I digress. It's a book. Okay. They continued on their journey. Uncle Peter was concerned that Akimbo had been so frightened by his experience that he would have lost all interest in snakes. But this was not to be so. Once they returned to the snake park, Akimbo was so eager to watch the green mamba being settled into its new home. And let's see, Akimbo was as eager to watch the green mamba be settled into its new home. All right, sorry, lost my place. And he did not mind either when a reporter from a local newspaper, a friend of Uncle Peter, came to talk to him about the incident. After they had talked, the photographer from the newspaper took a photograph of Akimbo standing in front of the cage containing the very snake. Akimbo was very proud to see his photograph and packed a copy of the newspaper in his bag to show his parents when he got home. Boy and snake come face to face, as the newspaper said the newspaper report, in a truck. Now, if I was Akimbo's mother, ooh, I'd be mad at Uncle Peter. And then it was time to leave. Akimbo would have wished to stay with his uncle much longer, as he still had a lot to learn about snakes. But there was school to go back to, and things to learn there, too. He said goodbye sadly to Uncle Peter at the bus station. "Thank you," he said. "These have been the most interesting weeks of my life." Uncle Peter smiled. "You'll be back," he said. "Now that we've trained you, you'll have to come back next school holidays." "I shall," said Akimbo. And he did. When he returned 6 months later for his next working holiday with Uncle Peter, the first snake he looked at in the snake park was the green mamba. The snake was in good condition, which pleased Akimbo, but what made him happier than anything else was to see his name on the label below the cage. "Caught by Akimbo," it read. Aww. And then the date. Akimbo beamed with pride. This was better, far better than any other tanks. All right, well, I'll hand it to you as long as it don't get out of the tank.